Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I've got game number 2 of this best of 3. It's from the Russian StarCraft 2 League and it is some Zerg versus Protoss. Now, game 1 saw some interesting stuff start happening, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what game 2 has in store for us. But before we get to all that, let me introduce the two players. Up in the top left position, spawning as the red Zerg, we have YugiOh, who's currently 1-0 up. His opponent, spawning in the top right, the green Protoss player, HuK, who just got overwhelmed in game number 1 by an awesome strategy from YugiOh. YugiOh, he sat there and he thought, okay, most Zerg players should I add, happily go up to 3 bases. They sit there and they think, okay, drone, press that D key a bit more, and then I'll attack. Not YugiOh. YugiOh, he sat back, he thought, okay, I'll get out 3 bases. I'll get out 2 bases, and then go up to lair, nice and quick, take my gas a bit late, but take 3 at the same time, and get out a whole ton of swarm hosts, plus a Nidus network, and I will just siege HuK's natural. And that is precisely what he did. It worked spectacularly well, and HuK was just left in a situation where he couldn't defend it. He tried getting some Zealot warp-ins behind it, but it wasn't enough. There was just no way he was going to be able to hold off that many Locusts with only gateway units. And while he valiantly tried to get out some Colossi, they were just too late to the party, and HuK had to concede game 1. Game 2, though, I'm looking forward to see what HuK can do. They're spawning in vertical positions, which means HuK could go for that Stargate again and get into the natural base very quickly. And that could be very powerful for him. So we'll have to keep an eye out to see if he does go for that, and really what he's got in store. He's going for a different build already, getting that forge down, so we've got to keep an eye out now for cannon rushes. The probe, oh the probe, this is looking very cannon rushy. The pylon is making this even more cannon rushy. HuK. This is the probe's life right now. All he's got to do is successfully get down some cannons without YugiOh noticing, and he's going to be good. And YugiOh is actually going hatch, pull. Oh no, YugiOh. YugiOh, this is not the sort of opening you want to do when you're getting cannon rushed. I'm just saying, bro. Like, Overlord. Any Zerg players who get cannon rushed, pro tip for you. Put your second Overlord here, because you always see this and you can always defend it. HuK is probably smiling slightly about this. I think Protoss players get some kind of pleasure out of cannon rushing. And it's like that he's not going to expect this, and you don't notice either, because currently this is YugiOh's vision. He's just like wandering around with this Overlord going, you know what? I can see the natural. Everything's looking okay. Everything's looking good. The probe, oh my god, what's this? Cannons, oh. Yeah, I was going to swear there, but I try and keep this PG. But yeah, cannons are now attacking. A second pylon coming down. These cannons will take a lot to take out. I think it pretty much take roaches to take that out. So yeah, this hatchery, 100% dead. No chance at all. The spawning pool's still not finished, might I add. And HuK now even coming up to the third. Is he genuinely going to try and cannon rush this third base? Frankly, he can. Quite easily. I'm surprised he hasn't done it, because he must be wondering where those Zerglings are. But he knows the third's up. He's allowing that to live. He wants to give YugiOh a fair chance in this game. But the natural already down. Some Zerglings are going to try and pop out. But of course, HuK, he's got a cannon back at home. He can build that wall off fairly damn quick. A couple of Broodlings are going to try and make their way through, trying to damage that pylon, but it's not going to work too well. Meanwhile, drones coming down towards this third. But regardless of the fact that the third's already up, so it's still 2 base on 2 base, add in additionally that HuK's natural was massively delayed due to this. It still is HuK's advantage, because this natural can't be taken for a long time now, and that's going to be frustrating. YugiOh's also pumped out these 6 Zerglings, which aren't going to be able to do anything, because the wall off is going to come down as soon as he sees those Zerglings on their way through. HuK's got the money for it. He's keeping the probe there. So as long as his reactions are good, but HuK, what are you doing? HuK, oh, as I sit there and say, as long as his reactions are good, HuK's reactions are not good. And so now there's 3 Zerglings in the main base. This isn't devastating, but it's enough to be very, very frustrating. It's the sort of thing where it's like, this is awkward now to try and defend this down. So, yeah, all in all, HuK, he's just going to run these Zerglings around, going to try and find a little way to poke and prod, get a little bit of damage. Pulling back now. These Zerglings, 2 are still on the field, but the Mothership Core there, only 1 probe is being killed, not really justifying losing a hatchery. The 2 cannons still up, remember. YugiOh going straight up to his lair. Once again, very early lair timing. That poor Zergling trying to get back down is taking a bit of fire. Really wants to get some scouting information out, sees when these third and fourth gases are taken, and also try and get a peek to see whether the Forge is researching something, because that's going to be a big little giveaway. But no, not going to be able to see it, and that means that really YugiOh is playing somewhat in the dark. He just knows that his opponent has cannon rushed his natural and has a mothership core out. That is all of the information that's there for the moment. The gateway is going to come in, and that actually creates a full wall off here. And HuK realizes that, cancels it, and says, okay, maybe I shouldn't completely wall off my natural. That would be a bit of a brave move, especially with a gateway, as opposed to just like walling off with pylons, which I can kill later on without too much worry. Stalker going to force back this Overlord. We do see that YugiOh now taking his fourth gas, getting that infestation pit again, so we'll be once more teching up towards those swarm hosts. HuK needs to identify that and do one of two things. One, 5-gate all in, which seems to be the option he's going to go with. He may even get more. I don't know why he keeps what's he doing? Why does he keep cancelling some of them? Anyway, so no, 5 gates is not enough. 7-gate all in now. HuK says, do you know what? I know you haven't retaken your natural base. I can see that. And so, I'm just going to kill you. I'm going to annihilate you, because you're probably going for some kind of 2-base play, and that's going to annoy me. HuK does have to contend with Swarm Hosts, though, shortly. And Swarm Hosts with gateway-only units, you can do, until you get too many. And what a scout from YugiOh here. Straight over. Sees all these gateways, now knows it's a 7-gate all-in, and immediately starts his Roach Warren, and he's getting these Swarm Hosts out, and I think the Swarm Hosts are going to be there in time. There's obviously these 2 pylons, which can act as proxy pylons, so that means that both the third and the main base has to be defended. But looks like HuK actually going to come and warp in down the side here and head up in towards the third. So where are those Swarm Hosts? 3 on the way out. The Roach Warren is nearly done. Of course, HuK behind this, busy getting out his robotics facility. +1 is about to finish, and that's probably going to signal the start of the push. The additional gateways are all now complete. They are all warp gates, and this is where the pressure is going to start coming. The Zealots making their way up on in, but again, no observer, and that means no way to deal with the Swarm Hosts once they burrow, and they are going to try and burrow pretty quickly. Do come down. The Spore Cooler will help prevent any damage being done, but of course these Locusts are just dealing so nicely. The Observer even comes over now. It will be tough. Quick little warp in of Zealots as well from these 2 pylons are going to try and save the day, because HuK knows even with just 2 Swarm Hosts there, it'll be difficult to try and break through. He needs his next wave of units pretty damn quick. Locust still coming up here, more Swarm Hosts moving forward, and this now is where YugiOh is going to try and minimize the damage done. And HuK, for a 7-gate, currently hasn't killed a single worker. Needs to do more damage and needs to do it pretty damn fast, because he's got +1 done, and while he is teching up behind this, he needs to try and deal some solid damage, and he's not going to be able to. Now the Swarm Hosts are down. There's 7 of them on the field. That's more than enough to be able to defend this. The Swarm Hosts can deal with this 2 cannons, 2 pylons very easily, because of course Locusts are free, and you can just keep throwing them at those cannons all day, all night. And while that will buy HuK some time to get out the Colossi, get out extended thermal lance, it's actually going to get slow. Great contamination there. And that just means that, of course, it's actually quite a solidly big delay now on getting that extended thermal lance down, which means the Swarm Hosts are going to have an even bigger opportunity to be really, really annoying. The proxy pylon hasn't been spotted quite yet, though, for HuK, and that's something that he would want to try and keep up as long as possible, but YugiOh wants to try and take it out pretty quick. The Locusts now coming in, of course, not only do they deal great damage, they're pretty damn tanky as well, so this cannon, not having too much fun against them, will go down. The third base, at nearly 12 minutes into the game, finally going to get secured. So HuK needs to get out some Colossi, has got 1 out, his second one already on its way before he's had to deal with these Swarm Hosts starting to deal some damage, but they are waddling their way forward. And is it just me, or do Swarm Hosts have the most awkward way of getting around you have ever seen? Like, that just looks like an awkward way to walk, and for a species that's meant to be at the pinnacle of evolution, Zerg just don't quite seem to get their whole, walking mechanics down to a fine art. But Locust still pushing forward, still going to try and do a little bit more damage. Coming over to just see what's going on here with HuK. Not quite sure where these Locusts are going. They just seem to have got a little bit lost on the party, but hopefully the next ones are a bit better rallied, so up they come. They're going to go the opposite way, though, to where HuK is taking his army. With the Overseer, might I add, that's critically important. I keep saying Overseer. Observer is critically important, because that's how he's going to see these Swarm Hosts. No Spore Crawlers, because the siege opposition hasn't yet been taken by YugiOh. Once the Spore Crawlers come down, though, the Observer can get sniped off, and that's going to be a problem, because while they are down, once they are gone, there's no way to deal with these Swarm Hosts easily, and that's a problem for HuK. So HuK moving forward, he's going to try and apply a bit of pressure, knowing that YugiOh only has just resecured up his third base. So HuK has actually had a better economy for quite a while, but does still have to try and deal with these locusts. Doesn't want to try and take the trades unless he absolutely has to. Could do with getting out things like some High Templar for some good storms. Oh, a couple of Zealots even taking some damage here. Not really what you want. And of course, HuK, it's near impossible to trade cost effectively against Swarm Hosts unless you're killing them off, because Locusts, of course, free, don't cost you anything, and that's what YugiOh is planning on doing. He's like, well, you hurt my economy early on, so I just need to be as cost effective as I possibly can be. He's also coming in with the Corruptors once more. Swarm Host Corruptor, of course, a terrifying composition. And the Swarm Hosts as well, just look at the damage they deal to those rocks, just slowly whittling them down. The Colossi really are the critical piece of the puzzle for HuK, but he's only got 3 of them as well. So once 1 or 2 dies, that could be a problem. These Locusts apparently deciding not to attack at first, but will get 2 Zealots nonetheless. And HuK just trying to really circumvent having to deal with these Swarm Hosts, but YugiOh with the creep spread, fully aware of what's happening here, and he's going to come around the back. There's a lot of Zerglings as well, ready to come in from behind to start dealing some more damage. The Corruptors have a nice little bit of high ground they can try and utilize, where the Stalkers won't easily be able to get up underneath them. But of course, with the Zerglings here, with the Locusts coming from the side, the Corruptors could try and get a couple of good shots off, are going to try and pick apart one of these Colossi, and do manage to get one of them, and that of course really going to make it a lot more difficult for HuK to deal with the Swarm Hosts and the Locusts, which are still constantly streaming out. Notice that HuK hasn't got down yet any Templar Archive, so he's not trying to tech up into those High Templar, and that's because he's trying to defend this purely and attack into it with nothing but those Colossi, and that's fine, but it's difficult to do. A couple of Storms do kill off Locusts very fast, and yes, it's kind of a one-trick pony, but that can be the one trick you need to get the momentum to go in and crush those Spore Crawlers, the Swarm Hosts and Spore Crawlers. But nonetheless, we do see that, well, the Locust still pushing in. HuK just unable to close up this distance. Remember, this is a best of 3, so if he doesn't win this game, he's going to be in a lot of problems, and he's trying to find some area where he can move forward. HuK is down slightly in supply. He's getting down a War Prism, and I really like this, because this could be a way for him to come through. There is a big Speedling charge trying to head in, though, but the Zealot just moving back, the Pylon coming down as well, but realizing that they won't completely wall it off, so the double Pylon will have to go there, but it's not in there. Is it going to go in time? No, it doesn't. A missed rally there on all of that means that suddenly Speedlings are in the natural base. HuK having to walk in a lot of stuff, walk back his army too, because his Mothership Core is not out on the field, and that means that these Zerglings dealing a nice bit of damage actually force HuK to retreat, giving more of the map back to YugiOh. There's of course Zerglings up in the main base too. They're just slowly picking away at more pros. In total 7 killed, which may not seem like a huge amount, but HuK has only got 44 workers in total now, and he's only still on 2 bases, so this is a bit problematic. Add in the fact that YugiOh getting down his 1-1 upgrades, they're soon to kick in, and HuK's War Prism now has a lot of pressure on its hands. The Swarm Hosts aren't going to be able to easily get back though, and that could be the problem. They're even moving forward at the moment, so this warp in, remember, with the 7 gates, could be pretty devastating, and that's exactly what we're going to see. A big warp in of Zealots coming into the natural base, and suddenly drone count is going to start diminishing. The War Prism heading up towards the main as well, and HuK's plan now is just deal as much damage as he can while holding off the Swarm Host, while pushing forward as well. Try and put the pressure on Locust going who knows where, but these Swarm Hosts suddenly a bit of a problem. Blink is done for the Stalkers, and they're going to offensively blink forward. YugiOh losing quite a few Swarm Hosts now. The Corruptors are going to try and deal with those Colossi as quickly as possible, but this means the Zealots are going really untouched for the time being. The Stalkers trying to get underneath the Corruptors, doing a good job. The Locusts getting taken out. A couple of more Swarm Hosts are getting killed. HuK warping into the main base too. He is just everywhere at once. These Swarm Hosts are taking a lot of damage. The Observer is of course still not with the army. There's only 2 out, and I'm not quite sure where the second one is, so that means there's no way to deal with the Swarm Hosts while they are burrowed. But still, 3 Colossi, they're staying up. The Zealots dealing a huge amount of damage up in the main base. HuK could have brought this back into his favour after that great cannon rush start. Is he going to be able to push through? Well, he's losing a Colossus, but the Stalkers are already in the main. The Warpins are doing huge amounts of damage at the third, at the main, at the natural. The natural hatchery is going to fall. HuK warping in with these Zealots, kills off the Queen, is going for the next Queen too. Still, all the while, his main is getting sieged too. HuK just pushing on, piling on the pressure. A whole ton of force fields is just preventing any of these Locusts coming up, and while the Locusts may be never ending and completely free, that's fine, unless of course you lose all of your bases, and that's what HuK is trying to do. He's completely committed, remember here though, because there was no Mothership Core. That means no escape. The Colossus does fall. The Lair is about to die though. The Infestation Pit is still up, but the third base as well is getting targeted. Is it going to be able to get taken down in time? It's going to be very close, and I think it will, and boom, it goes. That now means that HuK has knocked his opponent, well, onto like half a mining base, because this hatchery is a rather long way away from those minerals. It's not going to give an optimal amount of income, but the swarm hosts do still exist. There's 12 of them. HuK has not yet dealt with them, and therefore, considering his main base is getting very low on resources, has to do something impressive. But blinking down off the main into the third, the absolute maximum range you can blink there, he is going to start trying to pick off a couple more drones, a couple more corruptors. The swarm hosts here though are dealing some nice damage. A Warpin of Zealous has found their fourth base that was trying to be secured and is going to take it down. These blink stalkers dealing a huge amount of damage, not prioritizing the infestation pit because he knows that YugiOh just doesn't have much money at the moment. Slowly picking apart the Zerglings, wants to keep this army as minimal as possible. There's the infestation pit down, and the stalkers even going to try and get away with their lives. Should be able to get a little way back, but the locusts are just dealing so much damage with the aid of those Zerglings. But HuK does now have the army supply lead once again. Has the income massively in his favor. Currently, YugiOh only mining 280 minerals a minute and no gas. That's not looking too good for him. A good number of observers out. The corruptor count is only at 2, so this Colossus that's about to hit the field is going to be devastatingly effective. The only concern I have for HuK is he still hasn't yet dealt with the 12 swarm hosts. He's got to slowly whittle those down. He's going to try and secure a third, and I think this is such a smart move. He knows that YugiOh isn't going to be able to be pushing in too easily, and if he does try and move forward, that's actually where HuK could start whittling down the swarm host count more. All of the tech of YugiOh has been taken out. He hasn't built his swarm. He's having to rebuild his spawning pool. He had to rebuild up his lair. He's got no infestation pit, so he really can make very little other than drones for the time being, and that is just so frustrating. And of course, YugiOh, he doesn't even have the money to make another hatchery, so he's having to semi-long distance mine from this third. This is really looking to be like HuK's game. The only reason that YugiOh is staying in this for the moment is because he doesn't think that HuK has got an effective way to deal with those swarm hosts. But HuK, using the mobility of these blink stalkers, just to dash here, there, and everywhere, trying to snipe one or two off whenever he gets the opportunity to. And if he can, well, every time he whittles down a swarm host, one less, it's going to start looking a lot nicer for him. He's also picking off these creep tumors, just trying to make sure that the vision of YugiOh gets as minimal as possible. YugiOh now taking off that hatchery a bit closer, trying to get his income looking a little bit more substantial, but he's still at 18 drones to the 44 probes of HuK. HuK is looking to take this game very, very nice. He's got +3 as well coming down. He's got 3 Archons morphing in. His Colossus count is now up to 2. He only needs maybe 1 or 2 more, and he's going to be able to deal with this head on. Where are the observers, though? Not with this army. If they were there, quite a few swarm hosts could have got taken down, so a bit of a misstep with the observers, not with the army. But HuK still trading relatively well. He's losing less resources than that of YugiOh. He's stopping YugiOh from really getting any kind of notable income. And of course, he's secured up his third. The swarm host trying to push forward, but only half of them there. The other half trying to defend the only mining base of YugiOh right now. And HuK, all he's got to do is push through here, and he should be fine. He's morphing in another 3 Archons. Not going for Storm, just going to try and tank some more of this up. The Colossi going to deal a nice little bit of damage to these Locusts. 1 Archon will die, but of course that says, well, there's Swarm Hosts around here somewhere, and HuK is going to go hunting them. The Locust out of position, which means that these Swarm Hosts completely undefended. HuK, he just needs to go for the Swarm Hosts, not the Locust, and he would be fine, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Starts picking them off, an offensive blink forward, a burrow trying to go down, but GG called by YugiOh. And that means HuK levels out this series 1-1, and we get the ace game. So, if you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen, like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe, and I'll see you at game number 3 in just a second.